Back to Access Tech Live.
Now, Mark mentioned earlier a product called Oto, or a company called Oto, which is a smart lawn care system. I'm very intrigued about this, Mark, especially from the point of view of someone with a disability using something like this to care for their lawn.
Yeah, it's not often you go out and you buy a product because you see an ad and you're like, I got to try that out because I have that. I mean, I don't know about you, but keeping my grass watered, I don't know why it's such a challenge. I think it's just laziness, to be perfectly honest. Then I saw this product. I'm like, I got to try this out because I'm not going to go dig irrigation systems into my house and spend all that money. So Oto is a very, very cool solution. And joining us now is actually the founder of Oto, Ali Sabti. He has a background that spans medical devices, automotive projects, consumer electronics, and always puts a focus on nature and sustainability. So how is Oto making a difference for people with a disability is a question I ask. Ali, thank you for being with us today.
First of all, thank you for having me. I think it's an important show. It's an important topic that we talk about. But just in short, for the audience, Oto is a smart outdoor device that simplifies and automates the application of water and different yard care solutions. So if you think about fertilizer, mosquito, tick repellent, and the sorts, really simple to install. So that was one of our main focuses. It just requires a host connection and a Wi-Fi. And then a user goes onto their phone, sets up the different areas they want to cover, and then Oto will take care of the rest. We'll look at the weather patterns, weather conditions, and then optimize for how much water to put down, where to put that water, and then solutions if you have it.
There's so many products, Ali, that, you can look at and you can think, wow, that's an amazing product. What an incredible idea. And then you think, well, as we do here at Access Tech Live, how does that work for someone who's disabled? Has that ever entered your mind? Did it ever enter your mind in the process of building this?
Look, candidly, it's not like it was the focus, but there's a core belief within Oto, and it's very similar how we view accessibility, like we view sustainability, and in a way, and because we designed the device from the ground up, that good design is accessible, good design is sustainable. So, looking at the different abilities of folks, say, be it vision, be it mobility, dexterity, hearing, and even on the cognitive front, looking at who that user base is going to be, and good design to us is fundamentally accessible.
I love the product. As you said, it was simple to install. It has a solar panel on the top so that it constantly keeps its charge. It's got different compartments when you lift that solar panel to be able to drop in, as you said, the fertilizer and the various, elements to keep things going. I can just imagine for someone, for example, with mobility issues, able to suddenly achieve the same lawn care results as anyone else. It really does help level the playing field. Is that something that you hear from your audience?
Absolutely. And what Oto is supposed to do is kind of take care of the heavy lifting for folks with limited abilities, or even folks that are forgetting or prone to forgetting. So what this is doing is it's taking care of that sort of the labor intensive, the types of work that you need to do on a consistent basis, and it allows the user to really just go out there and enjoy their yard and do some of the light work like pruning or getting out there and actually enjoying that outdoor space.
Of course, one area that we talk about a lot these days is the environment, rightly so. How does this contribute to that? Because, I often wonder about the use of water these days. And it's funny, we were actually talking about this in the pre-meeting. How does this kind of thing work these days? Can we actually get away with using water in this way? Is that actually part of sustainability in your mind, or is it potentially an issue?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to be very judicious with water use. It's probably by a long stretch our most important resource. But also, if you think about even the ornamental spaces, our backyards, they're really important from an environmental perspective as well. They prevent erosion, they control flooding, they break down organic matter, they even reduce noise. Great habitat for wildlife. They provide cooling. So then the question becomes, well, how do you get that sort of space in an environmentally sensible manner? And what Oto does, and it does it in two ways. One is it saves water by putting the water exactly where you need it to be. So there's that precision that goes into that device. But then it also has the intelligence to only water when it needs to. So it looks at the weather, backwards to look at soil moisture, and then also forwards to infer if it's going to be raining or not. not, and that's on the water side. But environmental sustainability when it comes to lawn care is a bit more to it than just water alone, and that's around the solutions and the solution application. So not only are we using about 50% of the water that we use in the consumer home in the US to water the outside, but we're also putting down a ton of these solutions that are harmful to the environment. So if you think about how Oto's putting down the solutions, our natural solutions, again, it looks at the weather pattern, so it could reduce things like runoff, which will essentially wash that solution into water bodies, which is detrimental to aquatic life. But then it also enables us, just by putting down these small amounts on a frequent basis, to use things like botanical oil. So folks that are extra sensitive to the synthetics or don't want to use those around their homes or loved ones have an alternative now to be able to put down these natural solutions in addition to the water savings. And together, between the irrigation and the fertigation, be able to get that sort of yard that has all of those benefits, not only to the environment but also to the person themselves. So, if you think about a yard, it's a wonderful space to get some sun, to get some fresh air. Psychologically, it's great to be out there and to kind of really make use of that space in that way.
Ali, I got to emphasize the simplicity of what you're doing here, because you're taking something that seems extremely complicated and empowering people to make a difference without even realizing it, almost very kind of, frictionless. I'm holding the app up here to the screen now, and I've got 2 autos set up in my yard. I was able to literally draw on the screen a map of where I wanted it to water. It tells me when it's going to rain and it's not going to actually use water. It's made me be a little bit more conscious and aware of what I'm doing and the impact that I'm actually making on the environment. Was the simplicity of the design of the app itself, was that a big part of this whole concept?
110%. When I came up with the whole concept of Oto, I was leading a global team with developing an automotive product, spending a ton of time in Japan. And I just needed a product for myself. And I needed a plug it and forget it type of system. I wasn't a green thumb like my father and maybe some of the other folks that I know, but I needed a solution environmentally sustainable, because one, I care about the environment, but also I didn't want to use any harmful chemicals around my children and pets. And then that's essentially what the genesis for Oto came to be, is, we needed a very simple, cut through all the complications, not trying to convolute sort of the approach to upsell or to do any of that. And this is why today, Oto, you're able to get Oto set up in minutes. Most of our customers have the device, believe it or not, set up in no more than 10 minutes, just from unboxing to being completely done. And then from there, it's just really simple, very low maintenance. If you have any adjustments, you just jump right into the app. So I think that was really, really important to essentially, even internally, we talk about democratizing yard care, where before it was perhaps limited to a certain number of folks. One, they need to understand and know what they're doing, and 2, they need to be really able-bodied, and they need to have all of these different abilities to do it. And with Oto, it does a lot of that heavy lifting. It does a lot of that sort of cognitive decision making, and the load that has to come with the consistency of going out and applying solutions and applying water. And it enables more people to get out there and really enjoy their spaces.
I mean, I've got to say, 2 things really stand out. One is you mentioned about the fact that it essentially conserves water in that it's a sustainable way, because, as Mark just said, with the app or with the system, it actually can detect if it's raining. It knows if it's raining, so it just doesn't apply water in that case. So, that just alone is such a wonderful reason to use something like that. But my ears also pricked up when you said pets, because, I've just got a new puppy here. And, dogs, they, make a bit of mess. And, you want to make sure your lawn is clean. So, again, this is something which can contribute to that, right? Whilst also being safe for those pets.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a lot about the irrigation side, the types of solutions you can put in a fertilizer. We also have a mosquito and tick repellent, but it also opens up the door to do quite a bit more. And one of the applications we found is that folks with pets, particularly in warmer climates, also in climates where maybe they're using synthetic turf, when that dog goes out there, that builds up the smell, because you don't have really the organic matter to break it down. And this is why we're able to package in essentially an enzymic cleaner that Oto is able to put out in small and frequent amounts. And it sort of from an environmental standpoint, it's the best way to clean up after your dog and pets, and it's completely safe for them to do that.
Well, I would suggest maybe asking you to ship one over to me in Scotland, but since it rains every 3 seconds here, I think I'm probably covered in some ways anyway. But, you know, it does sound like an amazing system. And for people who are interested in it, and across Canada, across the US, where can they find out more?
The best place is either on Instagram or on Facebook through our social media channels at Otolawn, OTOLAWN, or through our website, www.otolawn.com. That's OTOLAWN.com.
Ali, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It was a great conversation, and I look forward to seeing app updates and new features and stuff down the road as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up with so many gadgets and coming out each year, it can be hard to keep up. I'm doing the wrong question of the week, Stephen. With summer kicking into high gear this Canada Day, July 4th, what tech has made the outdoors more tolerable and accessible for you? I've got a couple in mind, and we're going to get to them after a quick break, plus your answers, of course.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back.